3 American service members were killed in action over the past few days as the United States and Iran inch closer and closer to a return to all-out war. U.S. Central Command announced yesterday the death of an American soldier in northern Iraq who was killed during the disposal of a downed Iranian drone. Two U.S. soldiers were also killed on Friday in Jordan during an Iranian missile barrage, and one is still missing. The latest fatalities raising the death toll of American military personnel in the Iran war to 17, while hundreds of other troops have been injured. The two sides, meanwhile, are continuing to exchange fire. The U.S. announced a new round of strikes overnight for the 9th consecutive night, as Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says the loss of U.S. soldiers, quote, only stiffens our resolve. Iran says at least 50 people, meanwhile, have been killed and more than 500 injured since the U.S. resumed its bombing campaign. In return, Tehran is once again targeting U.S. bases and other sites across the Gulf, including attacks on a power and water treatment plant in Kuwait. As for what comes next, well, a senior Iranian government official told MS Now that the Memorandum of Understanding between the U.S. and Iran is no longer valid, quote. And a senior foreign diplomat inside Tehran who is linked to the negotiations told MS Now, quote, there is no hope of peace in the near future. Joe, I mean, we knew the MOU was not holding up. I think it's a little surprising the speed with which both sides, or at least the Iranians, have acknowledged this is done, it's over. And the question now, do we bumble along? I mean, oil prices are up, but not massively. We're not over $100 a barrel yet this morning, although we hear that supplies are very low. So where does this take us?
Well, I think we bumble along. We bumble along, David Ignatius, because there's not much of a choice to do anything else. The president tried to get an MOU that Iran would accept. The terms were worse for the United States than Kaiser Wilhelm II had to sign at the end of World War I at Versailles. We were giving $500 billion to the Iranians. We all know the president took sanctions off of Iran and allowed them to sell oil in a way they hadn't since 1979. It didn't change their behavior at all. In fact, things got even worse. So now the president's going back to understanding he's going to have to show strength with the Iranians. But this from the Washington Post, your newspaper this morning, that the president's talking about the possibility of a more expansive war, but they're limited in how far they can expand that war by a limitation on munitions, both long-range munitions and also the sort of weapons that they would need to continue this fight for a long time, and even the possibility of ground troops, which the president refuses to rule out. Even that possibility right now limited by all the damage in Iran. So what is the next move? It's a question we've been asking since the middle of March, and the answer is no more clear. There is no easy answer, is there?
No, there isn't. We've spoken, commenting on this for the last month or so about a term that's used in chess where every move you make makes your situation worse. And I fear this may be one of those situations. The Washington Post headline this morning says the U.S. teeters on the brink of all-out war with Iran. That's a frightening thought, that we could be drawn so deep into a conflict that President Trump clearly wants to get out of, but knows that he can't get out of now because the Iranians control the Strait of Hormuz, a key waterway. I've written that maybe Trump should just find a way to keep his mouth shut and walk away from this, keep the pressure on Iran, but not continue towards ground invasion or other radical escalation. But Joe, it's one of those situations that reminds you of the very worst moments in history, where a war begins. People think it's going to last a short time. In World War I, the generals thought the troops would be home by Christmas when they went to war in August 1914, and we all know that just nightmarish carnage that followed. I've begun to wonder if this isn't a little bit like what Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda did to the United States. Their strategy was to draw us deeper and deeper. They wanted the war to continue. They wanted us to invade Afghanistan. They wanted to draw us into a field of conflict where over time they would just stretch us out and attrit us. So that's one fear I have. But I have to say, in this moment, the choices that President Trump faces are pretty much all bad.
Yeah, they are. And David French, let's circle back and go back to the MOU for a second, something that we have to do, because if the United States gave the Iranians those terms, gave them $500 billion, gave them basically de facto control of the strait, allowed them to continue their nuclear program, allowed them to continue unabated their missile program, and again, funded them $500 billion, lifting sanctions off of their oil, which the State Department just a week before that deal had said, this is how the Iranians fund their terror operations. It would have left Iran in a stronger position than it's been in 47 years. They would have left Iran as the dominant power in that region. So I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, let's just get out of there. Well, yeah, let's get out of there, but with an understanding that the Iranians are at the very most going to be where they were when this war began. And that's going to be a real challenge for the president because, of course, it may require some military troops to keep the strait open.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a situation now where, and I'm glad David raised this, where it seems as if everyone is putting their foot on the gas, nobody is putting their foot on the brake here. And so when that is happening, you've seen mutual miscalculation after mutual miscalculation. So this war begins with a catastrophic miscalculation by the Trump administration that this could be like Venezuela 2.0. The prospects of that were never good at all. And then when that didn't work out, it was obvious they didn't have another plan. And now, Joe, I'm wondering about the Iranian government here. If there is a miscalculation on their part, they could have wrapped both arms around that memorandum of understanding and emerged from the conflict stronger, in a stronger position than when it began strategically. A clear loss for the U.S. But now, again, they're continuing to close the strait. They're continuing to keep it closed. That's fundamental to any deal to end the war. And now they're taking serious damage along with us, obviously. Again, nobody has a foot on the brake here at all.
And if the Iranians didn't have so many factions fighting each other right now internally, somebody with half a brain would have taken that MOU. And if they'd been able to force everybody else to take that MOU, Iran right now would be stronger than any other country in the region and be set to dominate it for a generation. But they have factional fighting there, as we do here politically.